For probably the first time in this entire trip, I was actually able to get up early. So I went for a nice long run, and I finally got a coffee. Now we're off to Monticello.
None of these trees. Sometimes they wanted someone.
Gifts from the Lewis and Clark expedition. See, this is how I want my living room to look.
And this is the way you write a letter, and a copy would be.
Letter copying device.
They were made. His father, when his father died, his father was not dead, which is quite unusual. And had dinner at Monticello and said French cuisine, and there was some Monticello.
That is quite the medicine chest.
You know, these almost look like queens.
I wonder what Gordon Ramsay would have to say about this. So here's the rear end of Monticello. Apparently inspired by French architecture, it was initially designed to be an Italian villa, but switched over to French after he came back from France. Inside, all sorts of wonderful things. I was able to see his chess set, where he played chess with James Madison.
His mother was Randolph family, which had more wealth than the Jefferson family. His father didn't quite.
I was able to see the instruments that he used to court his wife.
Jefferson was
before they lived together for 10 years, and then she ultimately died after making him promise not to remarry, so that the kids would never have a stepmom. And that's one of the reasons that he lived here alone, and eventually took up with one of his enslaved servants. And yeah, there's all sorts of wonderful things in there. His bone collection. And Jefferson's actual bone collection. A wonderful bust of Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton. That bust sits in the main entryway, and I imagine that it looks at him and it gently sings rap at him. On the other hand, so many flowers. Yeah, apparently none of these are actually the original trees. The last one, I was told, died 5 years ago. Back in the day, I'm pretty sure this whole place was the alcohol consumption area. So it actually looks pretty small from up close. And one of the reasons is because Thomas Jefferson wanted it to look like it was only one story. So if you look at those windows, each one is sort of divided into a bottom section and a top section. That top section actually is the window on the second floor, which is why they look so low in all those rooms. So now that I'm done seeing, the pretty glitzy bit, I'm gonna go see the dirtier side of things. I'm gonna go on the slave tour. So I'm walking down Mulberry Lane. All of these spots, some are empty, some have houses on them. You can see up there. All of these spots were where the enslaved folks who lived here made their lives. Thomas Jefferson had at peak, I think, 110 people enslaved here. Here are some of the barracks where unmarried slaves lived back in the day. Look at this place. Not the biggest. A lot of the buildings here are in ruins. Look at that vista. Imagine waking up every morning to that. And over there is another mountain, which Thomas Jefferson called Monte Alto, the big mountain. Little mountain, big mountain. And here's the door to the room where Sally Hemings probably lived. Actually along the basement patio of the big house itself. Another interesting piece of trivia about the inside of Monticello is that virtually all the beds are embedded in the wall. Turns out that when he was in France, Thomas Jefferson decided he liked the idea of beds embedding in the wall because they gave him more space. But except for his, you know, the famous one which has the crossways draft between the two rooms, they apparently got really stuffy and hot in the summer. So his daughter and his aunt actually insisted, after apparently like a day's worth of arguing, to have a bed not in the wall.
The wallpaper.
There's a bell ringing 12 o'clock. I gotta go visit the gravesite, then maybe the gift shop, and head out to Shenandoah. Walking down the hiking path to Thomas Jefferson's grave. While I was on my way over here, I actually ran into what I think was Thomas Jefferson's ghost. The staff told me that it was a reenactor, but the fact that they didn't want me to film him kind of tells me that there was something suspicious about that. So here is the Thomas Jefferson gravesite. Looks like he's got a lot of later family buried here too. And there is his mini Washington monument, where the great man himself is interred. It's peaceful here, very cool in the shade. Up here on the mountaintop, it gets really breezy. You can see why someone would want to be buried here. So I feel like I've soaked up Thomas Jefferson. So now I'm off to Mickey's Tavern, established in 1784, down at the bottom of Monticello. I'm just gonna try that and see if the food tastes, you know, see if it holds up in 2022. I'm going to assume this is the 1700s part, and that part is a little more recent. Nothing like a little coffee in a tin mug. For once, I'm actually indoors during the rain. Well, that was delicious and huge. I didn't get to sit in the historic part of the tavern because it was kind of full, but I did get to enjoy the wonderful food served buffet style. So now I'm on my way to Shenandoah National Park. It's not a very big park. It's not quite as mountainous as Smokies, but hopefully at least this time it will be a little bit dry. I checked the radar and it looks like we're gonna get some on and off spotty rain for the rest of the day in that area. So I'm gonna take one of those lulls to set up camp. And then the trailhead I was looking at for a real short trail, only 1.4 miles or so, is right next to it. So I'm just gonna go hike that, and then when that's done, probably hang out in camp for a little while. Haven't had much chill time, so maybe I'll take advantage of that. Gotta be getting close. Just lost cell signal. And welcome to Shenandoah National Park. It's the Henley Hollow Overlook. Henley? Hensley? I don't know, I did not read the sign very well. But you can see all the way down in the distance, like all the little farms and town and everything. And the mountains on the other side. That's, I guess, the Shenandoah Valley. Oh, here's another one. Look at that view. Unreal. Oh boy. Can I not collide with a bear, please? And thank you. So I made it to the campsite, and it is raining like crazy. Fortunately this time I have, one, enough charge to comfortably wait about as long as I have to, and two, it's only 3:30, and so I have time. So I'm just going to sit in this car and wait. The rain looked pretty spotty when I looked at it last on the radar before I lost signal, so I tend to think that this will clear up in the next couple hours. If it doesn't, I guess I'm just going to be setting up in the river, but that really isn't going to be any worse off than I am now. So screw the rain. It's been just the biggest problem for me this whole time, but you know what? This time I can wait, and wait I will. Look at this. Isn't this cozy? Well, it's still a little wet, but I'm just gonna have to live with it. So it turns out you can't really dig stakes into broken up asphalt. So we're gonna move the tent. All right, got the tent up in the nick of time. The rain is back, but at least my stuff is gonna be dry. So I said I was gonna see Dark Hollow Falls, and I'm gonna go see Dark Hollow Falls. Well, we're at the Dark Hollow Falls trail site. Not a lot of people here. Yeah, this one's pretty short, less than 2 miles. And that's for the best, because I'd like to get back before sunset, which is at 8, with a comfortable margin to spare. Starting to get a little bit hazy here. I'm starting to think sunset might not be the biggest obstacle to visibility. Going down into what I'm assuming is the Dark Hollow, in which we shall find the Dark Hollow Falls. Got a good view of the opposite creek bank. We're back in Baratory, and even though I have my handy bear spray on me, I'd really rather not use it this time either. I can hear the falls that way. It's loud, gurgling, gushing, and the trail winds down here, so I'm guessing it's gonna pop out right at the bottom of it. Not quite the rock faces of the Smokies, but certainly impressive, looming in the mist. All right, home again, home again. Oi, coming back up is a lot harder than going down. And that eerie mist is back. Haunting. A lot of history here. In the silence and the fog, broken only by the distant cawing of a bird, it's easy to imagine you're not quite alone. Even though at the parking lot, at least, I am quite alone. Look at this. It's even more intense without the camera. I can almost navigate better using the GoPro. Like, this is crazy mist. And it's starting to get kind of dusky. Ooh, eerie. As long as it doesn't rain, I kind of like it.